Welcome into the SEMO Sports Edition of Hawks Nest. And you might be wondering, where's Owen? Where's Justin? Well, I'm back, Clay Harrell, alongside Caleb Hoggard. Caleb, how's it going today?
Yeah, I'm living the dream one day at a time, man.
That's all you can do, especially with a week like we have this week. SEMO Sports, really busy. A lot going on. Volleyball, in my opinion, about to win the OVC tourney. Men's basketball at home. Women's basketball is going to be back home soon. And then football wrapping up their season here is coming up this weekend. Let's jump right into football, Caleb. Obviously, everybody knows UT Martin has won the OVC. SEMO welcoming in UT Martin this weekend. They can't win the conference, so what do you look to see out of SEMO in a game where it might be tougher to get up for since you're not playing for anything?
I think one thing that SEMO needs to realize is, you're a spoiler game for that team. UT Martin's playing for a bye week and a potential home game in the playoffs. And if you're SEMO, you have to have that drive out there to think, I want to ruin this team's season. Because SEMO had the chance to win the OVC. Sadly, we did not. There's always next year, obviously. But, if you're going to go out there, you got to knock them off their pedestal, knock them down a notch, and then hopefully mess up the rest of their season.
Yeah, this UT Martin team's coming in playing some pretty good football. Obviously, anytime you win the conference in a conference like the OVC, that SEMO, for a while there, people thought had a chance to win the conference being under 500. So UT Martin, a team that SEMO can knock off, maybe force them, like you said, out of a home playoff game. What does SEMO have to do to beat UT Martin tomorrow?
I think one thing you got to do is just run the ball hard. I mean, SEMO's excelled phenomenally at running the ball with Geno Hess. He's had a very great season, becoming the 10th running back in SEMO history to have over 2,000 career rushing yards. And, I mean, you just have to keep feeding the ball to him. CJ's been playing great ball recently, and I feel like if you just run the ball and then play defense like they know they can, and then I feel like it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, when you look at the second half last week against Murray State, they kind of got shelled a bit in the first half, but the second half the defense shored up a lot there, so maybe they take that momentum from the second half of that game against a good Murray State team and they're going up against, I guess, an even better UT Martin team. Defensively, you like the way things are looking right now for SEMO?
Defensively, you can always fix things. That's for every team. But I feel like if the defense can really be sound, stop the passing game, stop the running game, obviously, and just play as one, get all 11 to the football, I feel like it's going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, I think, too, with it being senior day, I think that'll have a lot more. Maybe that's something that you use to get up and play that game for is, it's your senior day, so we'll see how Coach Tuke wants to put these guys into the game and maybe play spoiler tomorrow afternoon against UT Martin. But football wrapping up their season. Women's basketball, Caleb, starting their season up. They're 1-2. They just dropped 2 in a row. A tough Texas road trip against Stephen F. Austin and then number 12 ranked Texas. How important is it going to be for them to get back to some winning ways here at the Show Me Center?
Well, like you said, they had 2 very difficult matchups whenever they traveled down to Texas. But now when you're back at the Show Me Center, you're back at home, you got your first win there this season of the home opening. And I feel like basketball, along with every other sport, is a game of momentum. You have to get rolling, and once you get rolling, your team's going to get better, the coaches are going to get better, and all around the system's going to get better. And I feel like if they show up against A-State on Monday night, and they show out and they just play good basketball, play good team basketball, then just build off that as the season progresses, I see a good season.
Yeah, I think Arkansas State could be a very interesting test for them. What do you think they need to do to win that game? Is it going to be more on scoring? Obviously you have to score more points, but how much of that focus is going to be trying to just score more points or locking down the defensive end?
I think for them it's just transitioning. Their first game of the season, they transitioned really well against UHSP, I believe is who it was. They transitioned the ball really well. The tempo was there the whole time, and I believe they show out there with that tempo, and they got move fast on offense, move fast on defense, transition really well. I feel like that'll help them succeed against A-State.
Yeah, it's tough to kind of look at those 2 games. You go on that tough Texas road trip and you want to see where your team's out, obviously playing some bigger schools. But it's also, important to maybe not get so down after a loss when you lose to the 12th best team in the country.
I mean, losses like those are just really building blocks for a team. We see SEMO play Mizzou in football. That's just a building block. And I feel like for basketball, this is just another building block to help teams get better, find out what looks best, what players look best on the court, and just kind of finding your true system core.
And you look at a season ago, they played the number 2 team in the country. Actually, they played Louisville here, and they lost by, I think it was 12 or something at that point. And so they even had a chance to win that game going back, looking at that last year. So like you said, definitely just a building block, a kind of a game to see how you match up. But let's move on now. Men's basketball, they're all in the middle of a 3-game homestand. They played the other night against Youngstown State, and really, first half, they were up by 2, 39-37, and then Youngstown State had a 60-point second half. Things just fell apart on the end for rebounding and the defensive end for the Redhawks, and it was just, you watched it and you just kept wondering if they were going to be able to get a stop, and Youngstown State just kept coming up with offensive rebounds, and I think they play tonight now, Arkansas State, and if you can't get on the boards, I think you're going to find yourself losing another game.
Well, I feel like one of the big things for a basketball team is, obviously, if you have good players that can shoot, you're going to score points. But you got to be able to lock down the opposing team. Defense wins games. That's for any sport. And if you go out there and you chase boards on offense, chase boards on defense, get blocks, get good steals, be pressed up against your man. That's how you're going to win games. You're not going to win games out shooting the other team.
And you saw a lot of that really in the first half. I mean, you give up 37 points in the first half to a team. It's not great, but the way they were playing defensively wasn't terrible. And in the second half, it was just like anything that Youngstown State put up went in, but it was also kind of the thing of their defense in front of, like, they were facing wasn't very good. And so, you kind of just could see the frustration as that half went on. Everything was falling. A lot of whistles in that game. And I think it's just going to be important tonight for that team to get back to kind of what they did against Missouri State. They were like, I think, 15-point underdogs going into that game against Missouri State, and they knocked them off 99-94. Now, the two games they've played too, SEMO, they've given up 90-plus points. That's not ideal because it's not an offense that's going to score 90 points, I don't think, every night either.
Right. I mean, like it goes back down to defense. I mean, you can't be allowing 90 points every game. That's just something that's not going to really fly. You need to have pressure. You need to make these shots that they're going to shoot up. They have to be difficult shots. You can't let them get open looks because these guys are in college. They are good at basketball. They do this. They got the scholarships because they're good at what they do. And if you're not pressing up, if you don't have a hand in the face, you know what they always say, hand down, man down. They're going to knock down shots all night. And what SEMO has to do, they have to go out there, play hard-nosed basketball on defense, and that's how they're going to succeed.
Yeah, and you look at the SEMO. I mean, offensively, SEMO's got Eric Reed Jr., they got Nana Kenton, they have Nigel Russell, they have DQ Nicholas, but I don't think that offense is scoring 90 points, and I just think it's because that's not an offense that maybe moves at a high tempo. I think they like to slow things down and get a good half-court look. You're not going to score 90 points doing that, so it's very important to not allow 90 points on the other end of the floor. So they got a big matchup tonight against Arkansas State, and they'll play Missouri Baptist at home on Monday before we go into Thanksgiving break. But the last thing we got here today, volleyball is just putting in work right now, Caleb. Like, it's not even funny. They sweep Eastern Illinois last night in the first round of the OVC tournament. They have Murray State here today. Who do you got in the second round matchup? It's not even a question. You shouldn't even have to think about this.
I mean, it's not even a question. Obviously,
it's really just how quickly are they going to beat them.
I mean, I see it being a two-set thing.
Well, they have to win three.
Oh,
so.
3-set. I mean. Sorry. I'm not really.
You got a sweep? Another sweep? We going 6-0 in our sets to start?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Hey, I think it's going to be a very good match. Murray State did beat SEMO once this year, but I think SEMO hosting this tournament and talking to Coach Yankus throughout the year, she always talks about how important having that home court advantage and how good the fans are, and you see rowdy crowd out at every one of these matches, and I think that's a tough environment for an away team to come into, and also something to kind of think about too is all these away teams are staying in a hotel. SEMO has that luxury of staying in their own homes, their own beds, and I think that could go a long way in this 3-day tournament here, and I think SEMO gets it done. I think we'll see a 5-setter. It's a tournament, it's postseason play, it's going to be dramatic, but I think that's my final prediction there. You got SEMO winning the whole thing?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's me being biased, but obviously they've been playing phenomenal volleyball as of recent. The players have been doing nice, and just like I said at the beginning of the podcast, momentum wins games. If you have to build off this momentum, and they just have been on fire recently.
That two-match set last weekend against Morehead State was some of the best volleyball I think I've seen them play in a while, and they're definitely using that momentum going into this weekend, and they'll play Murray State this evening. But Caleb, that's all we have for the SEMO Sports edition of Hawks Nest. Owen and Justin will be back next week, so have a great weekend.